Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh and in this video we shall discuss the current affairs and gazette for today, 6th of April 2022. Welcome Babani, Kriti, Amlan and Ashish. Welcome to all of you people who are joining late, watching offline. Welcome to all of you. So new edition of current affairs starting right now. Let's begin this. And why do I have an image of myself here? Because I could show the difference of what's the reality and and what's the photographs. All right, so daily current affairs. The quote of the day is 99% of failures come from people who have habit of making excuses. And we know we are not in the habit of making excuses because we write answers. I will post these questions, the 3 questions that I have put down in the offline comments as well. So do not make excuses, just note down the important points that you find are relevant right in the comment section. All right, so 3 questions will be posted right there, and you know that consistency is the one which will lead to excellence. Consistency is the one which will lead to something better regarding UPSC preparation and journey. So let's begin this. Spread the word, like, share and subscribe to this channel so that you receive timely updates for interesting videos like this one. Let's begin this. So as usual, what we have in current affairs discussion are some updates from UPSC perspective. And then we have some terms and concepts which find quite a lot of relevance with regard to understanding what is for UPSC focus, some editorials and opinions. All these 3 are very important for UPSC journey, prelims, main examination and interview. Specifically because these are the updates that are UPSC specific. You people understand the difference between UPSC content and what is the generic content, what is populist and what is the general content that everybody would like to read in newspapers. Exams are not on that track though. So UPSC content, some terms and concepts, something that is little technical or smaller terms which are irrelevant, and editorials, opinions are something that will make us more wise from the perspectives of the people who are experts in those fields. And one case study, a beautiful case study, we have that today as well. So let's start off with the first news. And before that, there was something that you people had asked me. We will cover that. Hi Prerna, good evening. Finally, having you online is great. All right. Yeah. Okay, no excuses. Great. So let's begin this. I will take up the questions at the end of the snapshot section, 3 snapshots and an update. After that, 4 terms and then a question round, and towards the end, I'll take up the questions, right? So let's begin with the first one. And before we get on to the first news, there was a question that was posed. All right, first one. What we will cover here, some updates of the articles that we will cover. First one is WHO and air pollution. WHO has released data about just one day ahead of the World Health Day. We will understand more about WHO and air pollution here. The second update is on heat waves and crop damage. A lot of crop damage has happened because of heat waves, not just humans but crops as well. We will understand more about this. Bio-refineries. India has initiated an integrated bio-refineries project. We will understand about this project, a very important project to replace the usage of chemicals and fossil fuels. Among the terms and concepts and editorials, we have Summer Action Plan, Global Capability Centers in India, HDFC Bank and HDFC Limited merger, CUET Common University Entrance Test, and another article on perspectives on the Ukraine crisis. So these are some updates among the others that we will cover today itself. And before we get into the first article, a question was asked, which is the busiest route for sea lane traffic, for sea trade route around the whole world. So I did some research to find out that the English Channel was the place which had the maximum container inflow or outflow. Where is English Channel located? It is located right here, right between the European side on the north and Africa on the south, right? Gibraltar is the place we would call as the place where this place is located. The second is Strait of Malacca in Southeast Asia, the place where Indo-Pacific strategies are being carved. The third place which is most popular here is that of Panama Canal between North and South of America. The fourth one is Suez Canal right here, and the fifth one is Danish Straits, right? This is the North Sea area that we are speaking of, where Rotterdam happens to be one of the most important ports in Netherlands. So Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, these are the countries which are, and also Germany. Germany also has got ports right here, right? So these are the 5 important places you should note, right? Where India is participating more often is the Strait of Malacca and Suez Canal, right? These are the places where India has direct relevance. So beginning with the first news, that is that on air pollution, the air pollution around the world has increased to tremendous levels, to the level that WHO right now says that 99% of people residing around the whole world are living in polluted areas according to WHO standards. WHO also raised its standards from certain levels to more stringent levels. For example, the presence of the particulate matter. Earlier, the annual presence of particulate matter, if it was 10, it would be declared as green zone, right? Green standards according to WHO. But now that has been made to 5 units. 5 units of particulate matter, PM 2.5. That means lesser than 5 micrograms of particulate matter 2.5 present in 1 cubic meter space, right? So the standards have been made more stringent. We had covered this update, and because of this, many people fall in the parameter of living in the polluted areas. Accordingly, WHO also released a lot of other data. Now this data can be utilized as facts about the polluting environment. It says that there has been an increased usage of NO2, nitrogen dioxide. There has been an increased presence of particulate matter PM 2.5 and PM 10, and this is the reason that WHO, it also says here that all these particles, they are related to human activities. Not much to do with the natural activities, but more to do with human activities, right? Curtailment of human activities, therefore, is the necessity of the hour. In the image on the left side, you can very well see this is the haze. This is the kind of smog or the dust that is present in the air around us, right? And all this impacts not only our breathing capacities, this also impacts our internal organs. Nowadays, it is not just plastic which is moving in our blood, it is also the particulate matter which moves across in our blood streams and to various organs and gets deposited, right? So WHO, I'm reading out certain content which forms a lot of relevance. Almost entire global population breathes polluted air, exceeds WHO air quality limits and threatens its health according to WHO's 2022 air quality database. This is one. You must note this. WHO has increased the presence of its monitoring stations to the level that it has gone 6 times since the last decade when it started. Monitoring stations have increased with time. However, the air quality has only decreased with time, and that too more in the lower and middle income countries. This is something to note. More than 6,000 plus cities have started to take these parameters in 117 countries, right? But then particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide, they are of more concern, especially in middle income and lower countries. The technology present there is less, finances are less, awareness is further less. The air in 17% of the cities in higher income countries fall below WHO air quality guidelines, right? In the higher income countries. But when you look at the same for the developing countries, less than 1% of the cities comply with WHO recommended thresholds in middle income countries. So this is a very, very dismal state of affairs, especially in developing countries. One important data, that is that around 7 million people die prematurely because of air pollution related issues. And air pollution can be divided in 2 fragments. One is the air pollution that is the outside, and the other one is indoor air pollution, and the one that is caused because of issues outside. So both of them share around the similar load, around 3.5 million people dying of each of them. India is working on both of them. Indoor, Pahel is the scheme, right? Or a direct benefit transfer for the gas schemes, right? So this is one, and the other one is the outdoor pollution, for which we are working at multiple levels. This is where I just wanted to streamline all the content at one place with you. The pollution at outdoor levels, industrial pollution, developing country will face it. Vehicular movement happening. See, Delhi itself reports around 50% of its pollution internal pollution because of vehicular movement. And the total pollution in Delhi, it is said that 30% are through internal sources, that means inside Delhi, and 70% of pollution is happening from all those sources which are coming from outside, right? For example, stubble burning is one, the air movement, right? Desertification and sand particles moving from Rajasthan area, another one. But then vehicular movement is one cause of concern in urban areas. WHO report also states this. Crop residue burning, construction site management, all these are relevant problems specific to India. Polluting energy sources and indoor pollution, all of these are causes. And that is where one of the answers is monitoring, but that is not enough. We have to start switching the energy base, clean energy base, more awareness amongst people, more laws, stringent laws, so that there is penalty on them, right? On the people using non-clean fuel, and usage of promoting of clean fuel. So these are important things about the first update, right? The second update is on the heat waves causing a lot of disaster, not only for humans, but also for the plant life. All right. So I remember very clearly, some of you had stated, sir, it is already heat waves and they're striking us very bad, right? So let's look at how they are affecting the plant and plant production here, plant productivity, right? In the background, you see this is the wheat cultivation, and the golden color of wheat signifies that it is almost ready for harvest. But then there are a lot of processes which are a part of the whole value chain of production of wheat. And this is a 120-day cycle, around 120-day cycle, 120 days. So it starts with the cultivation of wheat, right? And it takes around 100 days, see 145 days around total net, 145 days for the, for this wheat that you see which can be harvested. And the first 100 days are the one in which the green plant starts to come up and it starts to flower. After it flowers, then is where the male and the female part, they get into reproduction, and it leads to the formation of the kernel. What is kernel? Kernel is that part of the plant. This is the part of the plant that is kernel, which is inside the covering, the outer covering. This is the kernel. And this kernel, slowly and steadily, it starts to grow. There is more entity. This is called as the formation of the grain filling. The grain entity starts to fill more in this particular part. And this is when it gets more mature, right? Now, this is the eventual part, last part, where grain filling happens. I will repeat the whole process. Once you sow the plant, suppose this is a green plant and it has been sown. Green plant, it has been sown right now, and it takes around 100 odd days for it to flower. So one part will flower, another part will flower. You see these wheat entities, they flower here, and after they flower, there is reproduction in the plant, and after that reproduction, it takes 100 days to flower, and after that the initial kernel formation would take maybe next 25 days, and last 15 days, the most important 15 days, are for grain filling. Grain filling means the size of the grain, the kernel size will start increasing. That is the one which is the actual crop that we utilize. Rest of the plant, it can be biodegradable, it can be used for a number of purposes, but this kernel is the one which we finally utilize for eating. But then this needs a temperature, grain filling time, the 15-day time, it needs an optimal temperature of 30 degrees Celsius. But many areas around India are going through such a process where the temperature is exceeding 40 degrees, even in the month of March. And when you reverse engineer 145 days here, you will have to plant the whole the plant here in the month of October. But that's the time that we are harvesting the kharif crops. This is the reason, the time shortage is the reason we have started to burn the crops, right? This is additional issue that the temperatures are rising further, and this is not leading to efficient grain filling processes. What to do? So humans getting affected, okay, but then plants getting affected. This is the reason that we have to schedule everything in advance because of climate change issues. We have to start, sowing these plants early on. But then the whole area needs to be wide available for the next Rabi season to begin. It is not available because the Kharif season is still under the effect of the harvested rice, harvested paddy. the stubble is still available on the fields, and it is immediately burnt so that the field is ready. So this is the cause of concern. We need to remove the stubble immediately and start off with the next process, right? So please keep this. Just like the first article was about air pollution, I mentioned the causes and some ways in which it can be improved, and what is the WHO data. Data is important, WHO data, right? Similarly here, this is a beautiful example, beautiful case for you to talk about agriculture productivity. This is a case where you can speak about the climate change issues that are impacting the farmer income, right? So many ways in which you can use this example, right? The third update is on something called as Mission Integrated Bio-refineries. Mission Integrated Bio-refineries. There was a soft launch. That means it was launched during the time, online launch during the times of COP, but then a launch happened formally just a few days back. It was present as a part of All India Radio News as well. So what are these biorefineries that we are speaking of? Now this is how it looks like, where biotic entities, what are they? Simple example is the hay, the stubble itself is one example. Another example of biotic content is the animal dung, right? Another example of biotic content is the vegetable peels. All of these entities are biotic entities, and they can be utilized to create energy. This is where this image is of a biotic plant from Netherlands, and Netherlands is tied up with India to increase the usage of the bio waste and utilize energy from it. India has in fact given a specific target by which India will be able to create 10% of its energy base with the help of these sustainable energy sources. So these are the places which will be called as integrated biorefineries, which will be utilizing these alternate fuel sources, and they will be creating energy through it. So we will be decreasing the usage of the conventional fuel, that is the greenhouse gas and polluting fuel, right? Non-clean fuel, and we will also reduce the usage of chemicals. This is how we are going to aid. The plan is such, with the target of replacing 10% of fossil-based fuels, chemicals and material with bio-based alternatives. Okay, thank you very much. Government has also said here that they will be using PPP method, public-private partnership method, for this project. As simple, if you are staying in an urban area or a rural area, what we would use is some places, a decentralized way of collection of all the biotic content, human excreta, animal excreta. Government cannot enroll itself in all the processes. Therefore, usage of PPP. So one thing to note is PPP. The second thing to note is the meaning of integrated biorefineries itself. What are they? What is their prime intention? So this is another one. The third important thing for you to note is that the target 10% of fossil fuel base by the year 2030. You should remember the Panchamrit given by the Prime Minister. He had very clearly spoken that what we require for future is by 2030, 45 to 50% of the energy base should be clean. Biota will have some component, so 10% of fossil fuel alternate generation through this. This is the third thing that you should note, right? The target for us. And there were certain more declarations here which I have picked here. So sustainable aviation fuel also is required in the country. Sustainable, right? We are importing everything, and we are also aviation fuel needs certain level of refining. So making it more sustainable and making the aviation industry more green. This is the need of the hour. Not only airports, but when the air turbine fuel, it goes through combustion, it also causes pollution at all the other places. We require it to be converted into greener sources. Hydrogen Valley, there was also a discussion on Hydrogen Valley. What is Hydrogen Valley? Now this would be a place which would have an integrated hydrogen supply management, creation of hydrogen fuel, utility of it or supply of it, export and import of it, whatever it be, all of them to be done in an integrated manner, and that entity would be called as Hydrogen Valley. And the third discussion was on material acceleration platform. What is this material acceleration platform? This is the place where discovery of all the entities, all these biotic entities will be facilitated. So online platform where one will be able to discover these materials present and then make it a part of supply chain through PPP projects. I hope you understand what I'm speaking of. In case not, please put down a question. I will be answering that. So these platforms would leverage emerging capabilities in next generation computing, artificial intelligence and machine learning and robotics to accelerate the pace of material discovery up to 10 times faster. What material discovery are you speaking of? Biotech material discovery. Okay. So this is a great initiative by the government. Now a very simple launch and people aren't aware, but then please utilize this. This is something that you could utilize as a major point in your answers, right? Paper 3, clean energy fuel economy, alternate fuel economy, right? Import Atmanirbharta, export reduction, all of this, right? See, you people yourself, Preeti has mentioned this point. I saw that very clearly mentioned that reducing the import burden, right? I would show you an article where we are speaking of the increase in the current account deficit by 87%. Oh my God! Increase in the current account deficit by 87% from the last year. Now this is happening because we are importing a lot of fuel. We can alternate it through India production fuel, right? So this also becomes very important from the perspective of clean governance, right? Okay, so this is how India and Netherlands are becoming partners here. All right. Oh, have a look. Here it is. Trade deficit. I'm sorry, this is not current account deficit. The total trade deficit that we are speaking of widens to 87%. To $192 billion, almost $200 billion. Although we are appreciating the increase in India's exports, right? $400 billion. But proportional imports have also increased. Yeah, that's the problem. And we are majorly an importing country. So we must take note of the $100 billion plus of import of fuel and reduce it down by having fuel sources from the biorefineries, right? Other countries are doing, why can't we? We can also do it. Very many of these developed countries, especially the Norwegian countries, they utilize windmills, something we can only dream of, right? But then India has got this power. India can utilize it. Cleaner fuels. All right. Okay, moving ahead. Okay, moving ahead to the next segment. But before that, some questions if there are there. Hi Vivek, hi Hima, good evening to all of you. Hi Ashish, Netra, good evening. Yes, new setup, new look. Thank you. Calling me happy. Thank you. My name is Harsh. Happiness is synonym. Okay. No worries, Netra. Get well. No worries. It's fine. I'll post the questions offline as well. Okay. Hima trying to answer online. Okay. What else do we have? Amlan says sowing seeds early will need more irrigation, which is directly going to impact water depletion. Yeah, absolutely. And more so, see, wheat wouldn't require that much of irrigation capabilities, but paddy does need. So that is the reason that government had said that only with the first showers in the month of June, you would start to sow the paddy, right? Before the first shower, if you start to sow the paddy, you will need to flood the fields. And this is what had happened in places like Punjab, Haryana. When the sowing of field was happening before time, they would need a lot of groundwater, and groundwater would get depleted. So government of Punjab said just a few years, 7, 8, 10 years back, that you will be sowing the paddy only when the first shower happens, so that some level of water can be utilized from natural sources also. But doing this delays the process of kharif plantation. And if kharif gets delayed, and then rabi needs to be planted also in time, and this 15-day gap, the parali burning, that is the time where this becomes a little tricky. So people go with the easiest solution. All right. Would higher temperature mean low moisture content in crops? If it is so, won't it be good side effect of higher temperature? See, Ashish, beautiful question raised here. Low moisture is definitely required for during the times of harvest of wheat. That is absolutely true. Now, this is where I would like to mention to you a very important thing here. That is that during the winter times, we not only cultivate wheat, but we also we also cultivate our mustard, right? Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, if you can relate, that's the mustard that I'm speaking of. And mustard, see, in January month, we had more of western disturbances coming to India, and that spoiled the mustard cultivation, right? Because we wouldn't need that level of water. Similarly, wheat also does not need water all the time, right? It needs certain little showers, but then during the time of harvest, it needs low moisture content. But then low moisture content should be only optimal. That is good. But then if you provide those conditions where there is a lot of heat, more than required, the kernel, it will not fulfill, the grain filling will not happen optimally. It requires, in hot conditions, the filling of grain will take 10 to 12 days. But then if the conditions are more optimal, the filling of grain would happen for 15 days plus. And this is the most important time, which increases the total production, total harvest by 30%. I hope you getting what I'm saying. Yeah. Hi Kim, good evening. Okay. Okay. And I'm happy I become Harshit. Okay, so moving ahead, taking some reference from our magazine itself, this day in history dedicated to International Day of Sport. All right, United Nations has declared this day, and this is where I quickly want to just bring to your light a comparison between India and so April 6 has been declared by United Nations General Assembly in 2013 as International Day of Sports for Development and Peace. Okay, great. Sports for Development and Peace, great. But then a country like India standing so low in the medal tally, top 10 performers, US, China, Republic of China, right? This is Taiwan that we are speaking of. And then Great Britain, Japan, Australia, Italy, Germany, Netherlands, France, nowhere to be seen is our country. Our country having won one gold, no, just one gold in the 2020-21 Olympics, Tokyo Olympics, and the total medal tally in the Olympics being 7. This was our best performance ever. And look at a country like China, right? Only developed in the last 30 years and almost equating with the best and par, 38 gold medals. So the prime reason for development of human resources in China is development of sports. This is a very prime reason, because human resource development has 3 important components: health, education, and skills. In fact, in China, in a country like China, the skills are developed in the field of sports as well. Sports has been created for not only human resources building, but as a source of entertainment, as a source of economic lifestyle. That is the reason that the children, Chinese children at a very small age of 2 years, 2.5, 3 years, they start training and start learning ping pong and badminton and all the other games, athletics. All right. So a quick comparison: India, I think, stood at around 40s, late 40s position. All right. Getting back to today's feature news, which is on Indian Antarctic bill. We will understand what this bill is about in the feature news today. Okay. Image of the day on Everest, Mount Everest from the International Space Station. This is how it looks like. Beautiful, right? Okay. There was a time when I was, it was only once that I have flown overseas, and I keep speaking about it every time. And I was traveling over the Atlantic, and suddenly it was a very long journey, because I was moving from Moscow to JFK, John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. And that's when the flight was moving just over places around Iceland, and I saw these fragments of icebergs. There were thousands of it. It was the year 2016, and I have the image. In my last mobile phone. This was marvelous, a sight to watch, a sight like this. However, what was very, very pitiful is to understand that this is happening because of climate change. Innumerable fragments of icebergs seen from 10-kilometer height. All right, Mount Everest from ISS, International Space Station. All right, the first term and concept in news is Shree Mandira Parikrama project. Okay, don't get confused. We are only speaking of one of the Char Dhams in India, Jagannath temple in Puri. Now, the state government planned to go ahead with some construction around the temple. constructing some places for reception, 75 meters away from the sanctum, right? 75 meters away from the sanctum. So these were the type of amendments which were going on. They used some heavy machinery, drilling equipments. However, the central government ASI has objected to it, saying that there are certain foundations on historical monuments and restricted areas. We cannot construct anything in the perimeter of 100 meters of a very important no construction zone and prohibited zone, and in restricted zone the perimeter is 200 meters. Right? Restricted zone distance is 200, and for construction at a prohibited zone the distance is at least 100 meters. Otherwise the building, a heritage monument, will receive some or the other damages, right? And this is the reason when I'd gone to Hampi and many other sites, right, they have stopped the usage of diesel or petrol vehicle movement to those areas. The movement of vehicles would stop at a very long distance, and after that battery vehicles would be used to operate and take the people closer. Pollution, noise pollution, the movement of the earth, and that causes issues in the building. So this is where I would like you to quickly know what the Char Dhams are, right? Badrinath, Dwarka, and Puri. And the fourth one, anybody point it out and write it down in the comment section, the fourth Char Dham. Meanwhile, you should also be able to relate to the other sanctums, or the places where the temples, the temple architecture basically, right? So what is the Pradakshina Path, right? Which is the place where the deity's image is kept? What is the place which is kept, which is just vertically above of that particular image? What is it called as? So there's a Garbhagriha, there is a Garbha, there is a Mandap in front of it, there is a Pradakshina Path around the sanctum, and the pinnacle, the top, the highlighting point, what is this called as? So please revise this, right? Directly forms the part of your culture. So this is what is in news. All right, what is important about this is that this is a 12th century monument, Ganga dynasty, also called as the White Pagoda Temple. All right. The second update is on summer action plan. I had asked this question, what are the ways in which, see, we have got a winter action plan for Delhi and NCR, but what is the summer action plan? The government has said we will introduce a summer action plan for having more awareness and reducing the pollution levels in Delhi also in summers. So what are those? For example, fires at landfill sites, fire have to be reduced. The usage of community transport has to be increased. Private vehicles, there has to be ways in which we can restrict this usage, right? Not only that, clean vehicles to be used, battery operated vehicles, construction sites to be managed well. Along with that, green cover has to be increased. If green cover is increased, desertification will automatically decrease. So some of the ways we have mentioned here: road dust, increasing green cover, rejuvenating water bodies, park. Remember the green, blue tracks that we spoke of in Delhi's master plan, draft master plan for the year 2041. So all those entities can also be utilized. You should have these in your fingertips. The summer action plan, winter action plan, both. All right. Okay, 31% of the pollution in Delhi comes from local sources. We have repeated this innumerable times. Hai na? Okay, so this is the second update. The third update is from Afghanistan. Quite a few updates. I have not spoken about this, but then, wrapping it up, because this is not our country. We just have to know what is happening in a country which is aside us. So just through headings, let me share with you quite a few updates. One update from Afghanistan is that there has been a ruling from Taliban that people who don't have beard, they can't enter government offices, government places. The second update from Afghanistan is that women are fighting tooth and nail to be able to study. So education of women at higher education levels, that is being challenged by the Taliban government. And the third, so human rights issues. The third update is that about poppy cultivation. See, majority of the poppy cultivated around the whole world is from Afghanistan. Afghanistan is responsible for more than 80% of global opium production, and 80% of, approximately 80% of this passes on to Central Asian countries and then to Europe. So eventually the economy utilizes the poppy that has been cultivated here itself, right? And I'm very confident that all of you know about the Golden Quadrilateral and the Golden Crescent. One of the crescent lies at where these countries are located, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the other one is where Thailand, Myanmar, and Laos, Cambodia are located, right? So, and India is right sandwiched between both of them, facing the brunt of the drug menace. So Punjab region, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, all the places are inbound for drug trafficking, and because of drug trafficking, illicit money generation, illicit trading happening, and also financing terror activities, human exploitation, a number of things linked to it. All right. Now, lately, Taliban has said that we will not be utilizing opium for as a part of economy, so they're doing away with it because of Islamic principles. And all right, this is one, but yes, Afghanistan's decent proportion of economy is also funded through Taliban, through opium cultivation. This is one thing one should note. But then another part of the economy gets funded because of the movement of goods, transit of goods. So local area people, they take some taxation because of this. All right. So this is the production of opium, and it has only increased with time. That means the local vendor and the local cultivator get some money for this. All right. So this is what we have updated in the second update. The third update. The fourth update is very, very important. This is a very important update. That is global capacity centers. See, this is a very beautiful keyword for you to use. Global capacity centers. Why are they in news? They are in news because India is set to be one of the places which will be having world's major global capacity centers. What are those? See, I have shown this in the image itself. You see offices, you see production houses. This is where, these are the places where the world producers said India is a good place to expand our offices, our market. Not only market, but offices where we will be producing entities. These are not, these could be outsourced offices. These are linked offices to our offices. So when we see HSBC, what is HSBC? Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation. Hong Kong Shanghai, bhai, this is China. They have offices in India. We are working for them, right? Tesla is trying to produce, initiate an office in the country. Not only that, we've got offices of major, service-driven companies. Amazon has got an office in India. Microsoft has got an office in India, right? Talk of Facebook, they've got offices in the country. So many of them. So they are not only eyeing the customer base through creating offices, but the whole supply chain, the value chain cost decreases if they have their office in the developing country. These offices are called as the global capability centers. They feel Indian resources are far more capable. Absolutely true. We are. Banking, financial services, healthcare, electronics, energy. We are there. We are there for them. So this is the fourth update. Please start using these terms. Global capability centers, India houses a lot of global capability centers in the country. Okay, have a look. Citigroup, American Express, General Electric, Texas Instruments. Citigroup has lately moved out of the country. Axis Bank has taken over its stakeholders. It's because Citibank, see, for private banks, international banks also, they have to follow certain norms, right? For example, the lending to the priority sector. 40% of the lending needs to be done at priority sector. Now, Citibank only catering to the most exclusive client whose spending power is say below or above 10 lakh rupees per annum, 10 lakh rupees per annum through their credit cards. Now, these clients wouldn't be there in the rural areas. Citibank had to leave the country and give all its customers to Axis banks. So this is why premium banks are leaving. But then we also have their centers here, global capability centers in the country. All right. Several factors driving establishment of new GCCs in India: increased demand, high quality talent, all of you talented people pointing at you, maturity of GCC model in India. GCC aims to build strategic capabilities to advance their digital journeys. All right, so good enough. Okay, so this is the update here. The 4 updates covered. Let me look if there are some questions. Okay, what are the questions here? That color isn't visible. Oh, you meant the yellow color in the yellow background? Got this. Okay. Oh. Thank you, Kim. Yes, Russia used that name. No, thank you for this. This was not Taiwan. This was Russian Olympic Committee (ROC), and Russia did not use the formal name because there were some issues in using the Russian name here. But Taiwan is one of the countries which is doing very well in Olympics as well. Very small country but doing quite well. Thank you for mentioning. Okay. Okay. Babani says change the ink option to a deep color. Okay, I will consider this. Babani, oh, all right, you people mentioned. Yes, top scheme, good enough. Rameshwaram, thank you for mentioning this. What are the editorials that we have today? We have 3 editorials. The first editorial is on CUET, Common University Entrance Test Mandate. It warrants caution implementation, cautious. Why a cautious implementation is important for CUET is because we are implementing the CUET across all the central universities. All the central universities, are they able to provide people instructions in 7 languages? Are they able to have 23 or 27 number of courses that they that UGC has offered? No. So when the universities are not prepared, how can you offer the examination in so many languages? How can you offer courses in so many different streams? These are some fundamental questions. Not only that, they are private universities. They're private universities or aided universities which are completely autonomous. Their concurrence is required with UGC. UGC has also fallen into trap here because lately it was found that it was alleged that University of Michigan and one more important university, I think Arizona or somewhere in America, they have said that the whole undergraduate program, if you remember, we had spoken about the 4-year undergraduate program that UGC is proposed to introduce. The whole content it seems has been plagiarized. Content itself, how the 4-year program will initiate, what are its important parameters, how the first year or second year, first 3 semesters will be scheduled, what will happen 3rd semester onwards, and so UGC has fallen into some dispute right there. But getting back to this CUET introduced by UGC again, right? So autonomy has to be respected, preparation time has to be given. All right, 27 domains, 7 subjects, right? 95% of seats in higher education are in the self-financed private and public funded state universities, and higher education is in the concurrent list. See, state. So federal structure has to be respected. UGC is not respecting what is happening at the state level then, right? That's it. A good summary of this. The second editorial is on HDFC Limited and HDFC Bank. See, this is a very good indication that both these organizations are amalgamating. There are some hindrances in the merger. There are some challenges that also, if required, we will study that also. But then primary thing about this is that this is indicating a very good sentiment among the consumer base, right? There will be challenges. For example, what happens to the value of the share that one person held in one organization? What happens to the mutual fund if both the organizations are getting along with each other? So some challenges to be sorted, but then overall sending good signs for the future. This is economy related article, right? But lastly, commercial article, win-win for all the people, right? The cost of fund, all right, yes, important concept here. If 2 organizations get amalgamated, the workforce gets united. If you remember, we had shared about the corporate governance schemes, where in the feature news. So that's where we spoke, where these corporates, if we have reduced number of functionaries, reduced directors, reduced number of CEOs. See, right now we would have 2 CEOs, no, one for HDFC Limited, one for HDFC Bank, and now we would have reduced number of functionaries, reduced number of operatives. So when we have lesser number of them, that means more profit will be generated, more stakeholders will be happy, and this will be passed on to the consumers. All right, they will have different norms for statutory liquidity ratio and cash reserve ratio, of course. See, HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank is a bank, but then HDFC Limited is a mortgage firm. All right, it's a lot of selling, reselling. Your collaterals deposited there, they would have it, they would give you loans, and in case you've not been able to fulfill, they would mortgage your collateral. So an organization like HDFC Limited is important, but merger will increase some requirements for savings, SLR, CRR. All right, but then overall it is indicative of the consolidation of the banking sector in the country. Okay. Russia and the West, clashes of civilization. Oh yes, important one. See, Samuel Huntington had written a very important book called as The Clash of Civilizations, 1990s. That's where he mentioned that post-Cold War, the wars will be fought between countries on the basis of the cultures that they have, on the basis of civilizations that they have. And these culture civilizations are ethno-religious in nature. Right? They are complex also, but ethno-religious in nature, and the fault lines along the countries will be those places where there is merger of the ethno-religious groups, merger of them, right? So I will not be indicating much here, but then you should understand, for example, the Western culture and Oriental culture, Islamic culture and the traditional Hindu culture. These are the places where there will be fault line. This is what he had said. So a lot of mockery was made out of it because it was all predicted. They had said very, very clearly that the West will not amalgamate well with the Islamic world. Similarly, two regions they had declared, Russia and India, they will be the swing states. They will be sometimes towards somebody's faction and sometimes towards the other faction. This is where the editorial says Ukraine was also predicted to be a conflict zone, because that zone is the place where there is Western culture mixing with the Eastern culture of Russia. We know that that's absolutely true. Around 20% of population in Ukraine is Russian speaking, right? So this was predicted. But now, just like there was also a mock made of the limits to growth, the theories of limits to growth in the 1960s. Similarly, 1990s, it was mocked. But then both of them are coming true now. This is where the editorial says that Russia is definitely a swing state. It is. How so? See, after 1991, Russia could have been a good neighbor for European countries. It invested a lot of funds. All of the funds of Putin or his people, business persons, all of them, they invested much in the British economy, much in the German, French economy, in the East European countries also. A lot of hard infrastructure was created. Nord Stream, Nord 2, all of them were created and billions of dollars spent. This was not done so as to fight a battle with those same countries, right? The Nord Stream passes through Ukraine. Imagine this. Many pipelines pass through Ukraine. So it was not done with an intention that they would create an impact between the relationship. The idea was only to have Russia in favor, and had the European Union kept Russia in the favor, they would have kept China in abeyance. Russia would not have gone in China's side. But right now, the Russian swing state has gotten against them. What about Indian swing state? They say that India is a country which is at a very strategic position. We are keeping quiet on these issues and using our statements, diplomacy only for peace, only for our interest. What is our interest? See, rupee is depreciating because of flight of global capital. Why? Simply because war is happening. Whenever war happens, people will take out money because it is not conducive to growth. This is one. So flight of money is leading to depreciation of rupee. It is leading to less fuel, less certainty of food. This is not a good condition for India. Expensive imports here. So when this is a situation for India, India would definitely want to ensure that the war, it stops. It pauses as soon as possible. And for that to happen, India will have to speak to both the parties. So remember yesterday's editorial on the diplomacy that both the countries should show along with India. We spoke about mediation rather than arbitration. India could do it. This is what the editorial points at. It says that this is only in the interest of India that India should do a thing like this, right? So what did we cover here? The clash of civilizations, an important way, in which Samuel Huntington had spoken about in the books. Then the issues between Russia and European countries, they had not encouraged infrastructure building, finance sharing, investment into each other. so as to fight the battle. So Russia, a sync state. India should not become a sync state. It should have its interest as the primary concern. India must become a neutral state, but then the issues that is that India is facing, they must be decreased by aligning with like-minded democracies. And yes, one important thing, India must acknowledge that this clash of civilization should be avoided. How? We have to engage with all the countries devoid of their ethnicity, devoid of their religion, devoid of their culture. So India is having best relationships with UAE. India has great relationships with countries of Asian continent, Japan, different culture, South Korea, completely different, but we have got great relationship. Similarly, just now we concluded a CEPA with Australia. So India should not look at the skin of the color of the skin of the person, their religion, their ethnicity, and India should have better relationship with like-minded countries to avoid a war like this, to avoid becoming a partisan country which is swing in nature. All right. Oh yes, I got reminded of one question that you people had posted, and that question was about investments from Hong Kong. I remember Hima had asked, investments from Hong Kong coming in, investments from UAE pouring in, and investments from Saudi Arabia coming into India in the investment summit that was held last month. This is about investment in Kashmir. The question asked was, if Hong Kong is influenced by China for these investments. See, Hong Kong is a completely capitalist economy in itself, right? Its economy is not driven by how China drives its economy. Communist Party of China and communist and what is the full name of China? What is the full name of China? Just like we are Democratic Republic of India, what is the name of China? Can you please write down in the comment section? So Hong Kong's investment and UAE's and Saudi Arabia's investment are freely flowing, and there are many people who are routing investments to India from Hong Kong, right? This is not per se Hong Kong investment. Hong Kong, Mauritius, British Virgin Islands, these are the places from where a lot of investment comes to India. The reason is that these are financial centers. The taxation norms, avoidance of taxation used to happen very well from these places. So Hong Kong is one place where financials are routed from, right? It is not necessary that it is Chinese in nature. So this is one thing. Also, one more thing, countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia are investing in India, especially in Kashmir, and European countries are not. India wants to showcase that Kashmir is a place where you can invest, and these countries are aware, they want to invest, but the European countries have restricted their investment. They don't want to invest until and unless there is peace or human rights available there for people. So this is a great example for India to showcase that once you invest in Kashmir, food sector, food processing sector, tourism sector, hotel sector, all these industries, then you are bound to grow with us. This is what India indicates. Moving to the last section, and if you like this effort by us, you share some love through likes, comments and shares. The last section is on sustainable building blocks. This gentleman named Shiv Darshan Malik, what has he done? He has built home and plaster, the wall plaster, with the help of animal dung, and using some Vedic methods. What he has created is some sustainable way of creation of bricks and sustainable ways of creation of the plaster of it. So what does it help? I had read somewhere that using dung, for cow dung especially, for plastering and brick creation, this keeps the place cool. Not only that, this keeps the disease away, especially the certain kind of microbes away. This also keeps the pests away, right? So quite a few benefits, and this also saves money. This is more sustainable. This is what this gentleman has done, Mr. Shiv Darshan Malik. He prepared Vedic plaster in 2006 after research on durability and eco-friendly nature, and inspiration from what? Hempcrete, concrete, concrete, and then hempcrete, using the hemp. I hope you understand what hemp is. So hemp, seeds. I think Levi Strauss, the jeans manufacturing company, they also use hemp to create the fabric. So USA has been using hemp to create solid bricks out of it, and he got inspired and created such kind of material for house development. All right, so aiding lesser irreversible changes in climate. Good example that you can use. All right, sustainable building blocks. We had studied one of the sustainable building blocks by one Kerala engineer. After retiring, he had gone to his home and used the local laterite soil to create bricks out of it. And those places, the pits from where he would take out the soil, they would be used for water harvesting. That is such a beautiful activity. Along with that, he would also use the local biota. What are they? The palm trees, their leaves, for not thatching of roofs, but for creation of the wall, right? Instead of using the bricks which would be brought from other places, and that would result in the sand mining, he would use the biota, the twigs of the trees around. So this is not only sustainable, this is friendly to nature, this is also reducing the cost a lot, this is also ensuring that the whole process is more eco-friendly. All right, so great case study for today. And this is where we come to the conclusion of the current affairs video. We will quickly switch to the other video that is on the feature news for today. And yes, what is the feature news for today? Today's feature news. What is the feature news for today? Oh yeah, it is on Antarctic Treaty, and not Antarctic Treaty, but India's Antarctic Bill. So let's get on with the feature news for today. And thank you for typing what the full name of the country of China is: People's Republic of China. Republic of China and People's Republic of China. Thank you for participation. People viewing offline, put down your comments and questions if there are any, and all the people try to answer the questions in the offline segment. All right, Antarctic Treaty. Thank you.